everybody, it's Brock and we got a brand new episode of All About. Today we have a wonderful coral that's been asked for a lot. It's a very pretty, great one to add to the tank. Today we're learning all about the Blastomussa Wellsi. Now around the shop we usually just call them Blastos. Has an awesome name, they look great too. This is actually a large polyp stony coral to add into your aquarium, so a lot of times with those LPSs, they just tend to be a little easier to take care of than the SPS. Prices that you'll usually see on these, about $40 to get a frag, and a frag can only have 1 to 3 heads on it. So if you're looking to get like a big piece that has, 10, 15 heads on it, you'll be spending upwards of $250 or more just to get one. And even whenever they get crazier colors on them, people jack up the prices on that too. So they can be an expensive coral to get. But if you just want to get a frag, he does grow. As long as you feed him, he will have multiple heads pop up on him throughout the year. Care level, I would say moderate, mainly because of the feeding, which we'll get into. Temperature, you want to keep it 72 to 78. I like to keep my reef pretty warm, right on 78. DKH 8 to 12, pH 8.1 to 8.4, and your salinity 1.020 to 1.025. Usually in my reef, I keep it right on 2.4, and it does really well. Colors on them, tons of colorations. Definitely Google it and just look around. I mean, there's tons of crazy colorations on them. Most of the time people are looking for the ones with the orange rim with the green eye in the middle, or they'll be looking for that purple rim with the green eyes. But you'll see some that the rim and the inside just has tons of different colors on it, and I bet those are very pricey, but they look beautiful in the tank. Diet, so they are photosynthetic coral, so they're going to be feeding off the light, doing its magic. But I will highly recommend you spot feed these fish weekly at least, because that's where we really saw a difference in people taking these home and taking care of them. Is the people that didn't feed anything, just let them live off the light, usually didn't do that well over time. But then the people that were spot feeding them frequently did really well, grew a bunch of heads, stayed big and puffy, and just really happy. So I would really highly recommend you spot feed them. This can be a bunch of different things. If you don't want to get deep into the tank, you could do liquid food like oyster feast, reef roids, any of those out there, just kind of fatty food that you can put in your power head and it'll blow it on the tank and they'll be able to eat that. You'll see them shrink it up and open up their mouths to get it. So that's always a fun experience. You can also feed them pellets, which is one of my favorite things to do. They have these pellets that'll sink down to the coral, so you can get in there and put a couple pellets on each head, and that head will open up and grab the pellet, and then you'll have a good full belly on the coral. Origin, Indo-Pacific area, Fiji, Indonesia, the Great Barrier Reef, they're found all along there. Most of the ones you're getting nowadays, though, are aquacultured. Venomous, so no, they aren't a venomous coral. Maybe the feeder tentacles that come out could be venomous, but they're not very long. They're super short that stay right beside the mouth whenever they open up to eat. They can be stung though, so you definitely don't want to put them by anything that's swinging around, like a torch coral or hammers that can sting the fire out of stuff. Don't put them near that. Put them somewhere where he can expand out and be good around him. Placement, really anywhere. I've seen them do well in a bunch of different spots. Preferably the bottom for me, near a cave. They kind of like those overhangs where it's not as bright. And I've also seen them do well in about the middle of the tank. The ones that were real up high usually didn't like it. You'd see them shrink up. You could tell they didn't like it. So once we would move them down a little bit lower, you could tell they were much happier. Current, I would say medium, just enough to help them feed throughout the day, keep any algae and just debris off of him. But on the other hand, I've also seen certain ones do well in very low currents and very high currents. So you'll definitely have to just kind of see how yours is doing in the tank. You'll start to see if they start to stay shrunk up all day, you definitely want to move them to a different spot. Lighting, I would say low to medium, 30 to 150 on the par level if you're looking at that. I wouldn't go too crazy on the lights, because what we usually saw is people that had just very intense lighting, they didn't like it as much. They wanted to be down in the shade. So if you have like a low to medium lighting on your tank, these guys will actually be very happy in it. Tank size, any tank size, just making sure you keep up with your water changes, your levels are in good standings, and just make sure he has plenty to eat in there. So size doesn't matter on these. I would, however, recommend you keep up with a couple of real key levels for these. Calcium is a very important one, and magnesium is a very important one. That's going to help him grow and stay strong. It's going to keep that shell, that skeleton on the outside of him very strong. So make sure those levels are in a good level. 420s for your calcium most of the time will keep them very happy. Now, fragging the Blastos, they are fairly easy to frag depending on how they grow. A lot of them will usually grow spread out enough with each head that you can go in and cut between each other. It's kind of like fragging acans if you ever done that. Now, a lot of people have those fancy drill saws that can go in there and just cut a perfect circle around it. If you don't have one of those, usually you can go up under them on that skeleton and cut between there, and you can usually cut it like that. You don't want to be cutting into the head or cut a head in half. You just want to be cutting around each head individually. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have for the Blastos. They're a great coral to have. They can be pricey, especially with crazier colors on them. But overall, if you can get in there and make sure they're fed throughout the week, they'll be a very happy coral in your tank. Hope everybody has a wonderful week this week. Thank y'all again for watching the new top 20 tangs video that I put out. I put a bunch of hours of work into that. If you haven't checked it out, please go do it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Reach out to me on social media or down in the comments, and I will see y'all later. Hey everybody, it's Brock, and today's video is sponsored by Dream Team Forever. Make sure to check out our website as we just released the first ever All About tees that feature 30 fish and inverts from the series. Click the link in the description to get some for you and your family.